All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name's Kim Crowa. I am the current chair of the Braintree Chamber of Commerce. I'm an attorney with Baker Braverman Barbadoro, and I've lived in Braintree for about 13 years. So definitely interested in the upcoming council race. And so we want to thank everybody for joining us here, and particularly thank the candidates for giving their time and answering some of our questions. We have an intro and a closing from each of the candidates, and we're going to break apart the time frame with a half an hour for each district, starting with our District 2 candidates, John Mullaney, Reynolds and Carol-ann Ricardo. So I want to thank our sponsors, South Shore Bank, Beld, Vibrancy Communications, Toyota Braintree, Liberty Bay Credit Union, Brewster Ambulance, and Quincy Credit Union. And I am going to sort of short circuit through some of our usual introductions and put some different things in the chat. I'll ask if you are on the video and not talking that you just mute yourself so that the recording only picks up the people who are speaking. And we did a coin toss for who goes last with the close. And for the intro and the questions, I'm just going to rotate through the different candidates that everybody gets a chance to go first and last. And so with that, I'm going to ask Joe Reynolds to introduce himself.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim, and thank you to the to the Braintree Chamber for inviting us here today. For the Candidates Forum, I'm very happy to be here to share my views and ideas with the Braintree business community and the voters of Braintree. The topics we'll cover, I believe, are extremely important to the overall economic health of our economy, our local community. Braintree has a long history of partnering between our businesses and our residential and our government that has not only benefited the local businesses, but have benefited our government, most importantly, the quality of life of our Braintree residents. As a candidate for District 2, I believe our town council has the important role in contributing significantly to the health of our local economy, with two major responsibilities in hand. One being financial spending, having the authority and oversight of spending, and two, our zoning laws. And those are two extremely important factors that are going to help our local economy, that is going to feed into our ability to pay our bills, our ability to have steady revenues. So this partnering has been in place for a number of decades here in Braintree, and it has worked out well for us. So what we need to do is we need to continue to focus on building on that, where we have a good quality of life and we have the ability to pay our bills. As a candidate for District 2, I believe my qualifications definitely stand apart from Ms. Ricardo and Mr. Mullaney. Having the experience of formulating and presenting 3 operating budgets for the town, 3 capital plans, along with the success I was able to achieve for the town in my role as the Chief of Staff and Director of Operations by eliminating unnecessary spending and consolidating individual cost centers that resulted in significant savings, but also increased the value to our taxpayers without any adds to our budget. I think good sound practice management, finance practices is what's needed to be a good partner with the other counselors on the council, as well as with the mayor's office. My knowledge and a proven ability to contribute in a meaningful way will be a significant value to our taxpayers, also to the full council, and to help out put Braintree back on a strong economic footing. As I continue to talk to the voters of the District 2, I hear a major concern about the town's continued ability to be able to pay for our services, the upkeep of our schools, and our municipal buildings, the cost of maintaining adequate levels of public safety, and the delivery of basic services. I'm sorry, am I hearing something? Is someone else speaking? A dog? I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry.
All right. Okay, sorry. No worries, Carol-ann. No. Okay, and this is not to mention, which is a very important factor to our economic health, is our debt obligations to retirement, to health benefits, and to capital borrowing. We all understand that it takes money to pay for what needs addressing, and I believe we need partners in government who will work together to take the numerous steps, both small and large, to improve our incoming revenues and set clear and straightforward spending policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, and John, if I can have you go
Get
back
out
to the
right now.
short intro.
Get out. Out we go. Stay.
Okay, all right, John, if you want to go ahead with your intro.
My turn?
Yes.
Oh, good, good. For years, while I was on the council, I praised the volunteers of Braintree that made this town what it is today. And then I realized after all these years that passed, I too had been a volunteer. Early in my career, I was a member of the United Way Review Committee that allocated money to charities. And I went in, I audited the charities strictly as a volunteer and determined how much the United Way could give to them. As a lawyer, as I started out, I belonged to the Volunteer Lawyers Association, and I helped people who needed the help most. For 6 years, I served on the Finance Committee that helped establish the budget for the town. The selectmen made their presentation. We went through expense by expense by expense. So when my competitors say that they have more experience than I do, maybe they just don't know me that well. And then I was a town meeting member for 4 or 5 years. And on that score, I voted for the budget. All these positions help me to understand every facet of the town and the enterprises. And as a councilor running for District 2, I believe I can help my community through the tough financial times that it faces. Braintree financial reserves have decreased from 14 million when I left the council to 2.9 million today. Another bad year of layoffs, higher real estate taxes, failure to collect hotel taxes, failure to collect meals taxes could spell a disaster for the town. Our business community pays about 37% of our taxes. It's important that we work with that business community. We receive funding from the business community via real estate taxes, meal taxes, and permit fees. For 14 years, the slogan on my handout cards have been working together for a better Braintree. We all must help each other. While on the Finance Committee, there would be a discussion as to what part of the Braintree government was the most important. Is it education? Is it police? However, as I started to look at things, I also realized that all arms of the town are important, including Department of Public Works. When I wound up on the Finance Committee, some of the trucks were 20 years old and they should not have even been in the yard. When the trash isn't collected or the snow isn't plowed, the residents of the town quickly know your number as a councilor. We are a team and we all have to work together, and we have to make sure all the departments are treated the same. I have the experience as a result of my volunteer service. I have the skill because I've been a lawyer for 19 years helping others. And if you look at my business card, it says specialize in resolving problems. And Braintree has enough problems that they can test my my motto. I have the compassion for the working man because I've served as a union president and a steward for over 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you. And Carol-ann. Oh, you're on mute.
I am so sorry. Sorry. I'd like to thank Kim and the Braintree Chamber of Commerce for hosting today's event. My name is Carol-ann Ricardo, and I am a candidate for District 2 Town Councilor. I have spent my entire adult life advocating for people, whether through my professional career as a social worker and/or being the voice of residents and small businesses in our community. As your councilor, I will continue to work for District 2 and support projects that positively impact our district and small businesses. I assure you, I will remain fully engaged in projects that may negatively impact our district too. Schools, neighborhoods, and small businesses are at the top of my list. The health and well-being of our community and the financial growth of our community will remain at the top of my list. As a resident and advocate, it has become very clear that our local businesses have been negatively impacted by large-scale developments and the lack of long-term planning. I believe that councilors past and present have abandoned their primary responsibility, which is representing the people and our small business community. I will vote in favor of issues before the council if the outcome is favorable to residents and our local small business community. I respectfully ask for your vote on Tuesday, November 2nd. Carol-ann Ricardo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you all for those openings, and I'm going to move into the questions. So the first question I'll pose to Carol-ann first, and then ask the other candidates in the order: Carol-ann, Joe, and then John. So question 1. Braintree is coming off a year of revenue shortfalls, and the town's rainy day fund is significantly below recommended levels. This means there's little to no money available to supplement the operating budget used to fund schools, improvements to town buildings and infrastructure, and provide other town services. Given this information, how would you propose that Braintree grow its income?
I think something I talked about the other night was looking at our properties throughout the town that are not used, pulling an inventory of the land that is unoccupied. I also think it's important that we look at our small business community in a way that we can support them more as they rebuild coming out of COVID. As I spoke to business owners, they didn't feel as supported throughout the COVID crises when everything was shut down. They kind of felt like they were left out and kind of high and dry. Something that one merchant shared with me was that other towns waived their liquor and alcohol licensing for the duration of COVID, but Braintree did not. And I would just like to see more support so we can help our small businesses thrive and move forward coming out of COVID. Yeah, so that's my input for now.
Thank you, Carol-ann.
Thank you.
All right, Joe, just let me know if anybody wants me to repeat the question also, but Joe, if you could go ahead.
Please, if you would, thank you, Kim.
Okay, so Braintree is coming off a year of revenue shortfalls, and the town's rainy day account is significantly below recommended levels. This means there is little to no money to supplement the operating budget that is used to fund schools, improvements to town buildings and infrastructure, and provide other town services. Given this information, how would you propose that Braintree grow its income?
Thanks. I appreciate you restating that question. Well, understanding, I've had a lot of experience running operations and being responsible for the cost of those operations, both in the private sector and in the public sector. And having the ability to understand where your cost savings or cost containment opportunities is always an area that you need to look at first. See what you've got from see what you have from a leeway perspective of what your current revenues are. So now you take a look at what your revenues are and where are our opportunities to increase those revenues. So in the town of Braintree, I think we have a significant opportunity to increase our revenues by partnering with our local businesses of all sizes. I think that focusing just primarily on the small business is really leaving opportunity on the table. As I had previously stated in my opening statements, the Braintree has a long history of partnering with our business, our commercial and industrial businesses located within the town. And I think we do need to have a longer view. We have to be able to set targets and milestones about what kind of industry do we want to create? And so we'll talk a little bit about what helps drive those factors. I had said from a very high level that the two primary roles of a counselor, or the council itself, is on monetary spending, the authority and the approval of or denying of, as well as our zoning. So zoning has some really important contributions into what kind of revenues can we drive. So from a master plan perspective, we're looking at the types of businesses we'd like to draw here. We don't want the types of businesses that are going to impact us as a community and our quality of life in a detrimental way. Things that will generate too much traffic, things that will harm our environment, heavy, intense types of uses. I think that there is opportunity in the areas that we have outlined around the town for industrial use, for business use. And in particular, a real target opportunity we have is our industrial parks. So Braintree has been in the past and continues to be part of what they call the life science corridor. Now, life sciences, Massachusetts is basically the epicenter in the United States for life sciences industries. And there are various cycles or various levels of that eco cycle of the life sciences. You have your investment arm, you have your R&D, research and development arm, and then you have your production facilities. Braintree, I think, is ideally suited for us to take advantage of the type of infrastructure that exists in our town, and that with a little bit of outfitting or upfitting to these facilities, such as we have in our industrial parks, we can draw the production side of the life science and the medical, biomedical fields here to Braintree. Those are soft uses, but what they do is that because of the value of the inventory and the types of equipment, the facilities that they would have here, is that they bring in a higher level of revenue because of their value versus, let's just say, somebody who manufactures boxes or something to that effect wouldn't have that type of a value to our revenue stream. Because it's important that we be able to supplement our current revenue streams and not do it in a way that is going to overload that balance that we've achieved over the years, of that balance between business and residential, which directly affects our ability to pay our bills, and it directly affects, and very important to maintain, our quality of life for the residents of Braintree. With these, we can also look at other ways of taking traffic off our streets through partnering with these new, or with some of these larger businesses, and taking advantage of the public access we have, public transportation, our T stations. We've got 2 commuter rails. We have, well, actually 3 that run through Braintree. We have the Red Line, and then we have on the border of Braintree, the Quincy Adams T station that is closer to the facilities and business and retail of North Braintree. So I think a combination of these types of things, and if the council, I believe, could play a major role in this. And one of the ways that they can play a major role in this, to contribute to the conversation, to bring value to what kind of revenues, quality revenues that we can draw here in Braintree. I'm thinking that we have we could create a new committee, subcommittee for the council called Local Economic Development. Now, we know that the mayor's office essentially it's a strong mayor's form of government here. But again, we have missed opportunities in this town for our council to take advantage and to influence on behalf of our voters that we directly represent, to influence the mayor's decisions and to influence the policy and to ignite and get going on things that we need to work on, like our master plan, and to be able to create these better relationships. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, and John, same question to you.
This is probably my favorite question. This is what I love the most. The previous speaker was talking about what the council can do. I fought with Lee Gingrey and Hank Joyce to try and get a meals tax that created a lot of enemies for me, including some who are at this meeting today. Hi, Eric. So I fought for that, not for 1 year, not for 2, for 3 years. And now the town gets $1.5 million. Now, the bright side of this is in 2021, they got 832,000. Well, I love restaurants, and my stomach will attest to that we should next year get that 800,000 back up to 1.5 million. So we're going to have an increase of 700,000. I looked at the hotel tax. I'm sorry, it dropped 300,000. So that'll be 300,000. The hotel tax dropped 800,000, and I see the economy improving. So there's $1 million that we should recoup because the economy is improving. One of the previous speakers talked about waiving fees for restaurant owners. We're not in that position right now. The question you asked is, how are we going to save our town from bankruptcy? Giving money back is not the answer. We can help our businesses in different ways, particularly with the restaurants. The outdoor seating should be allowed forever. That's something we have really learned. Help our restaurants make more money. Liberty and Granite. George Clemens had already received 40B approval. Had that CBS and Goddard School not been approved, we would not have. We would have had 90 units there. Instead, we get a Goddard School, $83,000 in permit fees. Additional for the CBS, $150,000 in permit fees. That's 233. Additional real estate taxes of $60,000. The CVS is going to, besides Sacred Heart, it's going to be turned into St. Francis is going to be turned into a restaurant, and we're going to get another $50,000 in permit fees plus meal tax. There is money coming, and I'm going to make sure we get more restaurants coming into this town. And is my time running out? I just see it in your eyes, Kim.
We're getting tight on timing. I was going to say the next questions are going to start in a minute and a half, but if you have a last thought, go ahead.
Then I'll let you go, but it's always been my forte to find ways of making money. And the final kicker is we have about 3 buildings that we rent out. The town of Braintree is terrible at taking care of its property, and this may cause a large gulp, but if the town cannot find a town service to use the building for, sell it, let it get developed. To make sure it's the right development, we put an easement on that property, and then we get that property paying real estate taxes.
You know what you want, Mackenzie? I think it's gonna let me order.
Okay.
I think I just got interrupted by Chris Jacoris, who is a good friend of mine. So I'll check out on that. You get my message. I can bring ideas to this table, and I could talk forever, but I don't have enough time. Bye.
Right. Thank you. Okay. So the next question, I'm going to try to keep to a minute and a half. So I'm going to start waving you down at a minute and a half, whoever's talking. So question 2, the order will start with John, then Carol-ann, and then Joe. So question 2, in April 2019, the town council voted for a resolution seeking updates to the town master plan before rewriting Braintree zoning ordinance. The master plan process was then stalled during the 2019 local election, the 2020 pandemic, and in 2021, the failure of any consultants to submit a bid to help write the master plan. Given this information, would you support any zoning changes prior to completion of the master plan? And if so, what type of updates? So again, we'll start with John on that one.
Well, let me start off by saying, although people think I know everything, I do not. This is probably my weakest area. But what I do know is the zoning is very difficult for builders, and we've been able to get variances and different changes and able to in order to get it done. I think that we're getting to the point where the brick and mortar is going to become a real problem. You know, I look and I understand that Citizens Bank is going to cut back. We're going to have to work at making sure that they're able to put the proper businesses in there. I did talk to George Clemens, and he surprised me by telling me that that property up in Liberty was primarily residential, and yet they were paying taxes on commercial. So I believe that we really have to do a lot of this stuff all over again, but it's going to be so important to have at least one experienced developer on the master plan group so that he can provide his input. He won't be the majority, but we need people who know what they're talking about when it comes to this area. And I would suggest it ain't a politician. Okay, bye.
All right, thank you. All right, same question to Carol-ann. Just let me know if you need me to repeat it.
Okay, so when we're talking about making changes to the zoning before the master plan is updated, I would take pause with that. In my opinion, we've gone without a master plan. We've gone without a long-term financial plan. And this is why we find ourselves in a position where our rainy day fund has gone from what we were told at 15 million down to, as a former speaker said, 2 point something. So I think going forward with zoning changes before we complete the master plan is almost irresponsible to our business owners, our neighborhoods, and our community. There's a lot of work to be done there. And we've spent 2 years talking about it. And I get COVID came into play, but I, like a lot of people, continued working. People were still working. So I think our master plan committee, they are moving forward, which is exciting. And I would like to see that happen and come to fruition so we can make more mindful decisions as our economy and our community grows with development that's aesthetically pleasing to everyone, to the community, to our neighborhoods, and to our businesses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and on to Joe for the same question, please.
Thank you very much. So I think the gist of your question is prior to a master plan being approved, are there opportunities for us to make any kind of zoning changes that could be beneficial to the community? And so that being said, right off the bat, the inclusionary zoning laws, the reason why we have had a struggle with keeping ourselves or being unable to reach that 10% affordable housing level is because we did not have an inclusionary zoning law, or that it was, let's say, a weak reference in our zoning regulations. I know that there's two inclusionary zoning law recommendations, ordinance changes in front of the council, one from the mayor's office and one from two of the existing councilors. They're roughly around the 15%, I believe, which I think is somewhat in the right area for us to be able to make gains on building up our affordable housing unit stock. That's going to get us over that 10%, which is going to remove the ability of developers to take advantage of our town and build too dense projects that have too much density, and then the impacts that they'll have on us. I think another opportunity for us is from a zoning perspective and changes.
And you just got out of time here, Joe, too.
Okay, is the definitions table need to be modernized? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I know we're coming up on District 1's time, but I think I'd like to get this last question in, or not the last, but the last that we're going to get to today, and then a short closing. So if everybody could just bear with us, it's here for District 1. So the last question that I want to ask, and we'll start with Joe, then John, then Carol-ann. For District 2, the Parkview 40B project off Storrs Road had been proposed in District 2, and the development is currently on appeal. The town was denied an earlier argument to block the project when the Housing Appeals Committee determined that the town had not met safe harbor through adequate affordable housing or other qualified and non-buildable open space. Do you believe that adding affordable housing in Braintree should be a priority?
I'm sorry, is that question to me first?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Joe.
Okay, yes. I think to integrate affordable housing into any type of development going forward is important for us, because it gets us again out of that situation where we have lost control of being able to condition development of multi-unit housing. I think density is a very important issue to our residents. It has a direct impact on our streets, our traffics. It has a direct impact on the quality of life in our neighborhoods when you are trying to stuff 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag. It creates a mess. So we need to be able to control that. And I think these measures that we covered before are going to help us do that. But as far as this case goes presently with the Holland project, I think the town has a very strong argument that we have met the requirements from a land use perspective. And I also believe that we can wait out these folks in the Holland project for the numbers they're trying to implement, and that we eventually are going to get to those numbers. I think we're in a position of strength right now, but to answer the question, we need to keep adding the incremental units into whatever development goes forward. And that's going to be a very responsible policy for the town to be able to manage this. Thank you.
Thank you. And John, same question.
Thank you. I totally oppose the stores project, and not only, well, primarily because it's going to place a tremendous burden on the exit of traffic going up Stores Ave, which only 3 lights can get through, and the alternative is going on to Washington Street. However, the real issue is, do we need more affordable housing? Absolutely. And the percentage is 10. And my understanding is both the mayor and the council are in favor of increasing the minimum inclusionary rate to 15%. What is affordable housing? Affordable housing is housing that will allow a new police officer, a teacher, someone in a certain income sphere to be able to buy the house, buy the condo. And my other concern is about affordable. Once they buy it, they have to sell it back without benefiting from the appreciation of the property. I talked to a young couple that were at their academy, and they're making a good amount of money, and they can't afford to buy a house in Braintree. They're going to have to go to another town. Yes, we do need more affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And same question to you, Carol-ann.
No, I'm sorry. Can you just read it one more time?
Yeah, no problem. It's about the 40B project that was proposed off Stores. And the Housing Appeals Committee had determined the town had not met safe harbor through adequate affordable housing or other qualified open space. Do you believe adding affordable housing in Braintree should be a priority?
I do believe that affordable housing should be a priority. It's needed. It's needed amongst our 55+ community, our senior community, and others that want to come into our community. We are lacking in this area. The 10% threshold I take issue with, because this has been an ongoing source of contention, so to speak, that's just been sitting there. And now we're in a point, we're at the mercy of the developers. But I think about Stores Ave, and I think about the residents and the business owners. And part of we need to do is more listening, I think, and more contact with the people that live directly in the neighborhood and the business owners, because a huge development is going to impact our small business owners and the residents and our community overall. And I get right now it's on the table because of safety issues, but there's a bigger piece here that was missed, and that's the residents and the small business owners' input on such a massive change to their neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we're going to move into a short closing. I'm going to ask it to be a minute or less due to the time frame. We did a interesting coin flip prior to this to see who went last. And so the order is going to be Joe, then Carol-ann, and then John. So Joe, if you want to get us started.
Sure. One thing we didn't get a chance to talk about tonight, or today, this afternoon, excuse me, was our budget and the constraints we have on our budget. I know that there was a discussion, there was a point that was raised a little bit earlier about the use of free cash. And that free cash was applied toward balancing our budgets. We have a state law that says the municipality needs to be able to balance their budget. You cannot spend more than what you take in for revenues. So we talked about the importance of our revenues, but we also have to talk about the importance of the cost containment opportunities that we have in this town. As a former chief of staff and director of operations, I knew exactly where these cost centers were. I understand from an opportunity where we can find savings, but also to generate revenues, which is something that I did as the chief of staff for this town. So I think that I have a tremendous amount of experience, not only here in the municipal sector, but in the private sector as well, handling all of those types of considerations. And thank you for having me here today. And I respectfully ask for your vote on November 2nd.
Thank you, Joe. All right, and next we have Carol-ann.
Residents and our community, small business included, are my #1 priority. I am running for a position as your District 2 counselor because I want the opportunity to do the work and serve my District 2 neighbors. Braintree is on the cusp of significant revitalization, and residents deserve to be part of this process every step of the way, including our small business owners. I will continue to be the voice of the residents, follow through on oversight, and work hard to improve our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And John, the floor is yours.
Well, I can only say, I hope I'm as lucky in the election as I was in the coin flip. The message I want to give out, and I've been giving out as I walk around, respect the businesses in this town because they're giving us 37% of the revenue that helps our real estate taxes stay low. I want to maintain our schools. I want a capital plan that we fix the problems before they become major problems. And if we go to the Blue Hill Tech, you can walk into that school and it's in excellent condition. I want to work with the South Shore Plaza. I want to encourage them to bring in Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Market Basket. We have to work as a public relations team on the council. The council is very weak. We're in a strong mayor government. And my job has always been to stimulate conversation. And I think I've done that pretty well over the years. I too am asking for your vote. I think my brain goes 100 miles an hour and I just want to come up with one idea after another. I'm never going to run for a higher office. This is the only thing I want to do. And my goal is to make Braintree better and work with the citizens. And by the way, don't forget my constituents who have broken sidewalks and their kids can't ride a bike on. Thank you. Vote for me. And thank you, Chamber of Commerce. Bye.
Okay. All right. Thank you all District 2 candidates. So whoever you vote for, go out and vote November 2nd because it's important and these issues affect us as residents and business people in Braintree. So I want to thank District 2 for joining us. You can find out more about the Chamber at braintreechamber.com. I'm going to skip some of my other announcements to move on to District 1, but thank you all for joining us today. And I'm going to stop the recording just to make it easier on ourselves for posting the videos after the fact on social media and YouTube, and then start it back up again in just a second.
Thank you, Kim. Bye.